Hello everybody, this is Let's Be Real with Brad, and today we're talking about the new Mutants. Finally, after 2 years of just being cursed and never getting this film, we are finally getting it, and I am super duper excited to talk about it. This film was just in developmental hell. We could not even get a chance to see this movie. It always changing release dates. Then Disney bought Fox, and that was a whole other issue. And then Fox didn't like the original film, so they were going to do reshoots. But then they changed it not to do reshoots. But the only thing that matters now is that we got this film. It's the movie that Josh Boone intended to be his own film. That's what it's all about, is that it is his true vision of the film. And what do I say? Well, at least we have it, because I think this movie is completely terrible. And why do I think this movie is terrible? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Well, just a couple. But let's just start with some of the positives before I really dig into this film. And I say some of the positives is the acting. Sure, some of the accents can be a little bit distracting if you know some of these actors and how they normally talk in their own lives. It can be a little distracting because then it just kind of goes back and forth. But I thought the acting was pretty solid. I think no one was truly bad or anything. I think everyone was just fine. I thought Anya Taylor-Joy was pretty good. She definitely plays a role that's very different than a lot of the roles that she's played before, and that's just kind of what she does. She likes to expand and be versatile, and she's really one of my new favorite young actresses working today. So I can't wait to see her in more films and just truly take on any role that she can. I found that the CGI and parts were really bad, but also I thought there was points that, especially in that fast action sequence, I thought was really good, and I really enjoy how parts of this film looked. And I don't want to go into specifics of what truly looked good, because it could give away some spoilers, but I thought it really looked interesting. Other than that, I think this movie is a complete mess. If you have seen A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, or you've seen Glass, you've seen this movie, and that's fine if that is, taken from there, because Josh Boone has stated that Dream Warriors was an inspiration, but you can tell, I think it was more than an inspiration, in my personal opinion, because they take so many story beats from that film, and obviously they change certain things, but you can see where they're changing it, because a lot of this film just feels like that movie, especially in the way it's set up and its structure to the film and how places of the story go. I just didn't find it interesting at all. The first 2/3 of this film are really, really boring. The dialogue feels so soap opera-y, and it doesn't really feel like you should be invested in this film. I never invested to any of these characters. The characters are fine. They're just given somewhat of a backstory, and then, they're ambiguous with that character, and you learn more about them. But by the end of the film, I didn't really know anybody, to be honest. And I think that was just a major problem with me, that you couldn't even attach to one character. There may be one or two characters that you thought were more interesting than the others, but there was a couple that just took a whole back seat the whole movie and were just shoved in, just exposition to them just to make you like them. And I thought it was not handled well at all throughout this film. I also think that the presentation to this film is just lackluster, to say the least. It is just really boring to look at. There's nothing that stands out and makes it special and just has a little bit of added color to it, or even a little bit of pop. It just feels like it's just all worn out and gross, and not in a good way like it's trying to present the film, and I was really bothered by that. The music is also really generic. It's something that you've seen before or heard before in so many of these kind of movies. It just felt forgettable once I left the theater. The editing is fine. There's nothing insane that they do with the editing. It's just whatever. The directing, which I thought was just very poor. I thought it was just generic, and you just have these same basic action shots that I feel like just don't immerse me into the film whatsoever. I feel like the direction didn't add any uplift to any of these really emotional and dramatic scenes, and that's just kind of a disappointment. I felt like it was just so bland in the way it was shown to the audience, and that's not something you would want. There's also the fact that I didn't get to, is that this is basically a horror superhero film. The horror in this film is completely awful. I think they should have just went the R-rated route, or just make your scares better. And I know that was a big issue with Fox with the initial release. So if this is the initial original film that they just edited and they put together, and this was shown to Fox, I can understand why. Because the horror in this film is just truly terrible. I mean, it just is not scary in the slightest. I understand you're going for more teenage crowd, and there's some images that could be more disturbing. But overall, I was never on the fence. I was never feeling any intensity for these characters throughout. I just was like, oh yeah, they're just a bunch of scary things that they're going to have to be. It was just really, really annoying to see that after a while and realize that the movie's just structured. One character gets a scare, one character gets a scare, one character gets a scare. I mean, I guess that's a spoiler, but not really, because once you see it, you know how the movie's gonna go. And I thought that was just so disappointing. There's also a relationship that spews in this film, which I enjoy the idea of it, and I think it could have worked, but it just so underdeveloped. It doesn't feel as though the relationship feels genuine. It's not subtle in the slightest, and they hint at it so much in the beginning of this film that I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen already. I already know this is going to go. And that was just a really big problem for me, because I think that could have been the best part of the movie. And it ended up just feeling like an underdeveloped relationship that was forced into the movie. I also think a major problem with this film is that we don't get enough time to spend with these characters. They kind of feel like they're forced to be a team. And you don't really feel like they're a team at all. And I don't know if it's just with the actors and actresses working on set, but in this film, you know they're going to have to team up at some point. But when they do, in parts of this film, it doesn't really feel genuine. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if we just don't get enough time with them. I'm not too sure, but it doesn't really connect with me, and it doesn't feel like any of it was earned. Also, almost every part of this film was so predictable. I knew exactly everything that was going to happen. And once they just present us with the information, you know how everything's going to go and every character's motivation. And by that point, I was pretty tuned out. The really boring dialogue could not save this movie to be any good. This really was a big disappointment. I really had just some hope for this movie to be solid, even though there was just so much problems with this film. And that's probably why this movie ended up not being good at all, just because they had to go back and realize, oh wait, we're doing other films now, so we gotta go back and finish this movie because Disney told us to. And they thought they were done. So that's probably the big reason why this movie was a big stinker. Should you go see this? Don't waste your money. I promise you, you're going to be bored out of your mind, and you're just going to want to choke on popcorn and die. Other than that, please just don't check out this movie. I know you're probably going to anyways because there's no other films out. I'm going to give this film a 2 out of 10. I know it's a super low rating, but I'm telling you, it is really not worth it. And the trailers are very misleading of what this film actually is, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. So, what did you guys think? Let me know down below. And what is your favorite X-Men movie? I really want to know that. I'm a big X-Men fan, as I have the shirt. It's pretty cool. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. It means the world that you guys have subscribed. You guys have been the best. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.